Hey everybody, it's Derek and welcome back to CRM Tip of the Day's Video Tips, your source for tips and step-by-step instruction on the latest version of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So in today's session, we're going to go ahead and continue our feature on custom actions and show you how to actually launch and consume a custom action from a workflow or a dialog. Now, there's a variety of different ways that you can actually initiate a custom action within CRM. You could do it through code, through a plugin. You could call the custom action and you could launch the execution from there. You could do it through a JavaScript. Really, any way that you could do it through web services. Now, the only real way that you could do it prior to the spring release for update 2015 was through some type of code scenario, whether it was JavaScript plugin, but basically through the web services and interacting with the web services. You now have the capabilities to actually invoke a custom action through either a workflow or a dialog, just using a very simple setup procedure. So in this particular module, or in this video, that's what we want to go ahead and do, is just show you how to launch the custom action that we created last time via a workflow. So let's just review what we did in the last video just to kind of remind everybody. So in the last video, we actually created the custom action. So we went into processes and we created a custom action called preferred customer. And so what that preferred customer did is it had several input values. The first input value was to determine whether or not they had a credit limit. The second one was to determine whether or not they had a credit hold on their account. And then the third one was to determine what their relationship type was. So if they were a customer, a vendor, a partner, reseller, something like that. And then we actually had an output parameter called preferred customer that was going to tell us yes or no, they are a preferred customer. And then we went in and we specified some conditions and basically said, if they have a credit hold on their account, to set them as a not preferred customer. Otherwise, if they have a credit limit of more than $10,000 and they are a customer, then we want to set them as a preferred customer. Or if they are a vendor, reseller, or partner, then we want to set them as a preferred customer. Otherwise, they are not set as a preferred customer. So if they have a credit hold, they automatically are not. Otherwise, it looks at a couple of different conditions and then determines whether or not they should be. So we're going to go ahead now and let's go ahead and create a workflow that's going to call this custom action. So back in processes, I'm going to go ahead and click on new. And I'm just going to call this call preferred customer. The category is going to be a workflow. And the entity is going to be the account entity. Because if you remember, well, obviously it's a workflow, so we have to associate it with a primary entity or a initiating entity. But when we created the custom action, we actually made that a global custom action, so it didn't necessarily have to be associated with anything. So we can feed in parameters from other different situations if need be. But this specific workflow is going to be triggered on the account entity. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And this will open up our standard workflow editor. And really, it's not going to be, any different than what we had done really in the past. And so now when a new item is created, when a record is created, we want to go ahead and initiate this particular situation. Now, I'm going to set this scope to organization. I'm going to set my record change fields because, again, we'd also want this, because it's a workflow, to fire anytime that a credit limit modification is made, or anytime a credit hold is modified, or anytime the relationship type is modified. So we'll come in here, we'll specify relationship type, and we'll specify credit hold and credit limit. Now, just for purposes of working with it, I'm going to go ahead and make this a real-time workflow. So we'll go ahead and click as convert to real-time. Give it just a sec to catch up here. There we go. And we'll keep this running in the context of the user who made the changes. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add my step. First step that I'm going to add is my step to run my process. So I'll click on add step. I'll choose perform action. This will call my custom action. Now your custom action does have to be activated in this situation. So there's my preferred customer. Then I'll set my properties. And this is basically where, like if you've done like a custom workflow activity in the past where you define the input and output parameters, that's exactly what you're doing here. So in here, I'm going to decide where's credit limit coming from. So I'd come in here, find my fields and my dynamic values. Credit limit's coming from credit limit. Add it in. Where's credit hold coming from? Credit hold's coming from credit hold. And where is relationship type coming from? Relationship type is coming from relationship type. And then I'll hit save and close. Now, I still need to do something with this because at this point I've defined what the input parameters are, and so they're going to put those in, initiate the custom action with those input parameters. I still need to do something with it. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a step, and that step is to update the record, and I'm going to update the account record. And I'm going to update the preferred customer field with the preferred customer output option that we have on our custom action. I'm going to go ahead and hit add and OK, and then save and close. And now that'll update this record with the output value for my custom action. And being that it's a real-time workflow, it should do it in real time. So now I'm going to go ahead and activate this. And now we could flip back into CRM, into sales, open up an account. Let's set the credit limit to $15,000. $150,000, we'll do that. Relationship type we will set as customer. And once this is saved, you'll see that preferred customer gets set to yes. Now if I come in here and I put a credit hold on this, once the save initiates, it'll go in, it'll set the preferred customer to no. So there you can see how to create a custom action and then ultimately how to run a custom action through a workflow or initiate it through a workflow or through a dialogue. And I think you'll see if you play with custom actions a little bit, there's a lot of flexibility. And this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, you have options where you can actually go in and you can initiate them. And once they've been initiated, you can actually call them through a plugin, and there's lots of other kind of cool things you can do with those. So I hope you enjoyed our video on custom actions. And for all of us here at CRM Tip of the Day, take care and have a good one, everybody.